boys and girls. Hello, welcome to today. Now, I'm a little bit peeved at the moment. I'm very, very, very annoyed. I just spent the last 45 minutes, an hour, setting things up in here with my Movie K2 camera and the wireless microphone setup that I now have. Because doing some testing, I figured out that the wireless microphone gets completely round the Movie K2 sound issues. Now, if you're curious as to why I've got two cameras pretty much facing the same way, well, it's very simple. The Sony that I'm using autofocuses all the bloody time. And so when it autofocuses, if I've got two cameras roughly facing the same way, I can cut between them. Now, I have just made my life very difficult in editing because I've just gone between the two cameras so quickly I'm going to get it wrong. And you're probably going to be like, Jesus Christ! Because I'm going to be going between these cameras like you read about. I'm sorry for that. I've got to get used to doing this as well. Got two different camera angles. The SJ cam is what I'm using as my secondary camera to the Sony DSC WX500, which is what I actually bought to do my vlogs with and never really used. Now, those K2s, they've always been a pain in the arse. I mean, proper pain in the rear end. And when this one went wrong, at first I thought it was because I'd plugged in the wireless mic and some, interference or whatever, so I was trying to figure that out. But no, I just practiced with it because I got the screen attachment for it. And after about a minute or so, 30 seconds, a minute, that kind of thing, the screen just starts going horizontal grey lines. As I showed you when it failed when I was with Simon and we only had that rear camera. So I've bought 3 of them. And the total cost of all 3 is more than a GoPro. So guess what I just did? I bought a GoPro. It should be arriving tomorrow. Now, it's a GoPro Hero 5. And it was on a discount because it's very old now. It's kind of outdated. Don't have a go at me. It's what I can afford, alright? But these SJ cam, the 4000s that I use, the sound is crap. I mean, it's very kind of monotone all the time. But they've been so reliable. I mean, seriously, I've had 3 Movie K2s fail, and I've still got my original SJ. The original SJ 4000. And that thing's been dropped, it's been dunked in water, it's been battered, but it still works. Turns on and records, and if you don't believe me, what the hell do you think's recording me at the moment? I have other SJs as well, because I got a number of other SJs to stick on the outside of vehicles for what I was planning on doing. Obviously, with my channel at the time when I first got these, I used to do some reverse shots, stuck on the window, do some reversing with the trailer. And that was always the SJ that I bunged on there, because if it dropped off, they were like 45, 50 quid, so who cares? But obviously, I got banned and I wasn't able to do that anymore. Now, why am I sitting in the X-Type? Good question. You see, for the last hour or so, I did a proper, in-depth research, which is unusual for me, researched chat about why I have the X-Type. Why did I choose the X-Type? Oh, it's just a Mondeo, isn't it? Well, I'm going to do it again with the Sony. And the Sony has a full battery. I've only just finished charging it. So I've got time. And you bastards are going to have to sit there and wait. Huh? But why have I chosen an X-Type? Well, 2 reasons mainly. Number 1, this X-Type used to be Simon's mum's. So it cost us the square root of sod all multiplied by nothing. So it's kind of got the, it's kind of got in there, really. I mean, a free car. Okay, the engine is absolutely knackered. Now, I think, being the stupid sod I am, I accidentally deleted the audio I had of it starting up. Because I was so aggravated by the movie K2 that I went and deleted everything on the card. I mean, what I'll see if I can do is start it up again. I'll link in the audio with the movie K2. It doesn't matter about the image, and I'll start it up again, and you'll be able to hear it now. Anyway, as you've probably just heard, it's got a little bit of a misfire when you try and rev it. This engine has repeatedly overheated. In actual fact, it overheated on Simon twice on the journey from where he lives in Bishop Stortford to where I am, the other side of Braintree, which is effectively the A120 from Birchanger Services, the M11, to Freeport, and a little bit, a few odds and sods in between, a couple of miles in between. And I think the engine in this is in a bit of a bad way. I mean, it's not knocking, it's not banging. It's most likely the head gasket. And I know the thermostat housing is shot. But you see, there are the reasons, the second reason, why I wanted next type. And obviously his mum owning one that was breaking down was absolute, just perfect timing. Because I've owned three, is it three? The silver one, the blue one, the red one. Yeah, three. I've owned 3 X-types. 2 have been 3 litres. And the silver one was a 2.5. Now, for all of you people sitting at home going, oh, it's just a Mondeo, Bill, it's just a Mondeo. No, it really isn't. Okay, it really isn't. It just... Yes, okay, fair enough. If you're going to say that, at least be original. Mondeo in Jag. There you go, Cockney rhyming slang, and it's original. How difficult is it? Oh, well, it's just a rebadged Mondeo. Just say Mondeo in drag, alright? Simple. At least it's original. Now, cast your mind back to the mid to late 90s. Okay? Ford buying Jaguar Land Rover. And they were developing, obviously they had the Mondeo, you had the Mark 1, you were on to the Mark 2, and they were developing the Mark 3. Now, that was, the Mark 3 ended up on the CD132 platform, which is the same platform this is on. And that's where everyone's, it's a Mondeo. The thing is, Ford spent $6 billion $6 billion developing that platform. In the late 90s. I mean, that's a huge amount of money today. I mean, back then it was a phenomenal amount of money. And the Mondeo has always been the class leader. It's always been the market leader. It's always been a very well liked, very well reviewed car. I mean, hell, I don't like Fords, but even I like the Mondeo. And yet, for some bizarre reason, the underpinnings of a Mondeo, when you put a Jag on it, oh, it's crap, innit? It's just a Mondeo. It's a load of shit. Why? How the hell has a car that has always garnered very good reviews, a car that everybody seems to like, how is it all of a sudden crap when it's got an X-type body on it? But that's getting away from the point. You see, Ford wanted to revive Jaguar for almost as long as Jaguar had been in existence. They'd been making the more prestige cars, the top end kind of cars. It wasn't for, the plebs of the streets, the workers. No, they're not allowed. Now, people have said that, Jaguar have made cheap cars before, but then again, saying cheap is relative. The E-Type in the 60s, compared to everything else within the kind of supercar, sports car, crossover range, it was cheap. I mean, it's £4,000 or £5,000, which at the time, for that kind of car, it was cheap. But the thing is, in the 60s, you could buy a house for that. So again, it's relative. The X-Type was genuinely the first cheap Jaguar. Marketed, built, designed for 30-somethings, lower to middle management. Most 30-somethings at the time, everyone was going into management, weren't they? I mean, have you ever actually seen a shop floor assistant in Tesco's? They're all bloody managers. Ford gave Jaguar a plan. It was effectively come up with... Oh, God, the neighbour's just turned up. Hopefully... Oh, he's going to notice me, isn't he? Bollocks. Oh, where was I? That was an interesting chat. Oh. Anyway, Ford basically wanted Jaguar to develop a compact saloon to compete with the likes of BMW in the 3 Series, Mercedes C-Class, and Audi, the A4. Now, mentioning the A4 brings me on to something quite fun, given what people think of the X-Type. The A4 was quite literally interchangeable with the Passat. I mean, it shared a huge amount. I think it was about 60 or 70 odd percent, crossed over. Now, a few people used to look at the Passat and go, poor man's A4, and a few people would look at the A4 and go, you just overpaid for a Passat, things like that. But realistically, that never really grabbed hold. Now, obviously, a lot of you will think, ooh, the X-Type's just a Mondeo, isn't it? Given that the Audi and the VW share 60 or 70%, crossover, what percentage of the X-Type do you think can cross directly over into the Mark III Mondeo, of which this is supposed to be built on? Everybody calls it a Mondeo, so what's the percentage? 60, 70%? Yeah. 19. 19. 19%. That's it. I'm 75% the same as a banana, but I ain't a banana. I mean, seriously, the entire idea that the X-Type is just a Mondeo is hysterical. Because it really isn't. Okay, yes, it shares a heavily modified CD132 platform, which is what the Mark III Mondeo is built around. But other than, you pull out the gubbins in the dash kind of thing, and you got Ford stamped on it. And the base platform, obviously, a design of Ford. And the engine block is a Ford engine block, essentially. But outside of that, that's it. It's quite literally it. And people are always so, oh, well, it's just a Mondeo. All the time. And it freaks me out because name a Mark III Mondeo with all-wheel drive. Oh, wait. There isn't one. The front suspension setup in this car is completely designed for this car. It doesn't share anything in common with the Mark III Mondeo. Nothing. The rear suspension, okay, that's the same as the Mondeo Mark III Estate, but that was merely for size constraints. Obviously, the Estate, the Mondeo Estate, wanted to have as much room as possible. And the way the suspension was designed, it was very good suspension, and it allowed the X-Type to have more room in the boot. The car itself was, the X-Type itself is kind of unique, and it's one of the reasons why I would probably have chosen the X-Type as a cheap heap anyway, given the price of a knackered one at the moment. 500-600 quid. Ford spent a huge amount of money redeveloping, redesigning the Halewood plant. Okay? And they did that solely for the production of the X400, the X-Type. Now, most new cars, the all-new Ford this, or the all-new Audi that, or the BMW whatever, the Honda or the Toyota or whatever, most new cars will have a couple of tester vehicles built. Okay? Just chuck them down the line, put them together, see what you come up with, try and find some faults. Most car manufacturers like to aim for 0. If they can get away with chucking no cars down the production line, the new style cars, they're happy as hell. And of course, with that, you get huge numbers of recalls. I mean, you've all seen it. Toyota have been doing it. Nissan have done it. BMW are doing it all the bleeding time. Mercedes do it. Honda do it. The X-Type, well, it was only ever going to be produced at Halewood. So, when they came to develop this car, I think it was over 200 tester cars went down the line before any customer car. 200. By the time the X-Type came to market, there was virtually no issues. Literally none. It had been tested in the most freezing conditions they could find. It was tested in the desert, it was tested in America, it was tested in the UK, Europe, Russia, everywhere. This car was bung through its paces every which way but Tuesday. That's unique to car production, okay? That on its own is unique to car production. It was the first baby Jag, the small Jag for everyone, which the XE is trying to relive today, but it's not quite the same. It's the first all-wheel drive Jag. Did you know that this Jag has passive rear steering? Name a Mondeo that does. Mark III. There you are then. This Jag, when it came to market, when it was launched, against the 3 Series, the C-Class and the Audi A4, the 2.5 was capable, the 3 litre obliterated them. 231 horsepower from the 3 litre. All-wheel drive. Passive rear steer. This thing could corner. I mean, this thing could go round a bend like a Lotus Elise. In actual fact, this was rated the 11th best car. Everything in the top 10 are quite literally sports cars and supercars. This came in number 11. This car was quite literally a remarkable result of Jaguar engineers being given a very difficult build sheet, basically. You know, a concept, idea. It's the first transverse engine Jaguar. So that was something they had to get to grips with, and that caused issues with the transfer box, obviously all-wheel drive, but the transverse V6, because of the size and the restraints of the platform, the transfer box in these only holds about half a litre of fluid. Half a litre of fluid. I'm drinking that. So if you get a leak, you've pretty much lunched it before you've got to the garage to find out what's going on. So there are issues, there are drawbacks, but in average driving, if you're not taking it round Silverstone all the time, it's fine. It'll do the job. I mean, I've seen X-Types with 200,000 plus miles on, and never really met anyone who's had to pay to replace a transfer box, let's be fair. I'm sure that they exist, especially these days where the X-Type is very old now. I mean, it's coming up for its 20th birthday. And that's the other thing. You get the right age X-Type, it's over 15 years old. Classic car insurance. Brilliant. It's brilliant. 150 quid a year, unlimited mileage, classic car insurance. Why wouldn't you? Unfortunately, Ford set what they perceive to be a realistic goal. I mean, they'd had the successes with the Escort, successes with obviously the Focus, the Fiesta. Virtually every car Ford sells, sales-wise, is a success. Except that stupid point in about the mid-90s where they tried to go executive. You know, we'll go prestige executive. A Ford. Virtually everybody thought that. But Ford have high annual sales figures. I mean, what is it? The F-150 sells, what, 2,000 units a week or something like that. I can never remember whether it's a day or a week. I know it's something stupidly phenomenal. I'm sure you'll correct me on that one. Ford said, we'll, redesign the factory, production line, everything like that, get this designed. We need to sell 100,000 units a year. 100,000. They sold these in America as well. 100,000. At the peak, when they launched the diesel, the 2-litre diesel, they sold around just over 50,000 in 1 year, and that was at the peak of sales. So it didn't hit its target. Again, there was a stigma. It's a Jag. You know, the electrical problems that had always plagued them, the fact that Ford owned them. You know, this is a prestige car. This has always been. You had to be an old fuddy-duddy to have one. And so it didn't really appeal to who it was designed to appeal to. They were still going out and buying BMs and Mercs and Audis and VWs. So they didn't hit the niche market. And the problem is that Ford started getting annoyed. Yeah? Okay, instead of funding the growth of the X-Type, let's just increase the range. Get as much money out of this $6 billion platform as we can. Now, the platform that everybody goes, oh, well, it's just a Mondeo, it's just underpinned by a Mondeo. The only thing that's the same on this platform as the Mark III Mondeo are the 2 forward mounting points. That's it. It's a shorter wheelbase. It's wider overall by, I think it's 50 millimetres. The platform has been heavily re-engineered by Jag. You can't bolt a Mark III Mondeo onto this. And vice versa. You can't bolt an X-Type onto a Mark III Mondeo. Panel gaps would be insane. So, it's not a Mondeo. It's a Jag. Alright? But they were talking, if it had hit its sales targets, if it had hit its figures, they had been designing a Type R version. Now that was going to be a 3-litre supercharged V6, over 300 horsepower. Supposedly a 0 to 60 time of about 5 seconds. That's not bad really, let's be fair. Now again, Ford, they're kind of cute. The reason they were developing this is because Mitsubishi Evo drivers grow up. I mean, come on, that's just the cutest thought process of any car manufacturer in history. A Mitsubishi Evolution driver grows up. I'm not having a go at Mitso Evo drivers. I love the Mitsubishi Evo. It's just the idea that as they grow up and get older, like they could afford the insurance for one of those things when they were teenagers or in their 20s, they will want a more, stable vehicle for an older person. So, over 300 horsepower, passive rear steer, all-wheel drive, X-Type. But they never did that. Ford got disheartened, the sales figures weren't there, and to try and recoup the money that they'd spent redeveloping the production facility and obviously designing the platform and so on and so forth, they nailed Jaguar into putting the Ford diesel engines in. And of course they launched a 2.1 V6. Why? What the hell was the point of the 2.1 V6? Badged as a 2 litre. What? I mean, it was 150, 354 horsepower, and about as economical as a jet engine. It had the performance of a slug. They couldn't have made it all-wheel drive because it just didn't have the power to do that. Why didn't they bung a 2 litre 4-cylinder in? Or they were designing the 5-cylinder ST engine. Hello? No. So the 2.1 was absolute bollocks. Anybody who bought one was paying through the nose for the tax because of the emissions, through the nose for the fuel because it was so uneconomical, and Ford and Jaguar quietly dropped that one 2006, 2007 I think it was. But they used a Duratorque diesel engine. They were redesigned, they were modified by Jaguar, but effectively they shared a huge amount the same as Ford. And that's kind of where the stigma of the Mondeo came from, because you had a diesel Jag. I mean, that's a Jaguar enthusiast's worst nightmare. A 2 litre diesel estate. Front wheel drive. Because they weren't achieving the sales figures, Ford kind of pulled the plug in development. They didn't really redesign this. They changed the front end, made it slightly squarer, changed the grille. Other than that, yeah, the interior was upgraded somewhat slightly, steering wheel changed, that kind of thing. But outside of that, that was it. I mean, when this car launched, it had so much tech in it. Okay, today it doesn't. But this launched, you could have a touch screen in there. We're talking the millennium. This is before the iPad. Yeah? This is almost, well, pretty much before YouTube, as far as I'm aware. You had a touch screen. A Prat Nav. You know? The electronic engine management system was miles ahead of the competition. I mean, they literally had every ingredient they needed, but they just didn't go. You know, they didn't move forward with it. Because it didn't achieve its targets, they ended up bunging the Freelander into the factory as well. So the Freelander, was it the Freelander? Yeah, the Freelander and the Evoque went in. Yeah, the Evoque. That's the one. The Evoque went in, sorry. They could have hidden behind... They were recouping their costs building the Evoque in that facility. And the Evoque actually shares quite a large amount in common with the X-Type. Well, a lot more in common with the X-Type than it does with the Mondeo, put it that way. Or than the X-Type does with the Mondeo. And they could have hidden behind that, but it was a case of course recession comes along and sales figures aren't there, it's not as profitable as it could be, and then Ford sell Jaguar to Tata. That's kind of the nail in the coffin. But really, the X-Type is a fantastic vehicle. Just its concept, its idea, the amount of time. I mean, when they were designing this, the porter cabins went up at the factory, at the facility. And that's where the executives, the designers, the engineers went. They didn't have offices there. It was literally porter cabins. It was a last minute kind of, right, we're going to design this. We're going to get the most we can out of this platform. Off you go. This is your task. You've got to build a Jag. It's got to have performance. It's got to compete with the 3 Series, which was a tall order, still is. The Audi, the Vito. It's got to compete with them. It's got to be, coming down from the kind of prestige mark to a more executive mark for lower middle management. And it's got a handle. And of course, the platform they were using, it couldn't be an inline engine rear-wheel drive. It can't be done. So they had to make it transverse. They made it all-wheel drive. 60-40 split. It was supposed to be 70-30. 70 to the back, 30 to the front. But when it came to production, they decided to make it more stable on the road. It'd be 60-40. And this thing, it really... They really are good cars. Like I said, I've owned, 3 of them. This is the 4th one, although I don't technically own this. And I just don't understand why people don't like them. They're a good car. These are a true classic. Boy, I've dragged this out a bit, haven't I? The stupid thing is, when I sat in this car with the movie and I had everything set up, I had everything organised, I was actually way more concise about what I was saying. I think I even bunged in a few extra, tidbits of information that at the moment I just can't remember. I've completely just, oomph. But that's probably because I'm angry. I'm annoyed that the movie has gone wrong. With everything closing in, I mean, this is the end of January now. And middle of February, 16th and 17th, I've got to go see Jamie and deal with his Aston Martin. The thing is, he's just moved house, and I had a message from him. Can I get up there any early? Well, I really can't. I don't. I've already paid for somewhere to stay now. I can't really change the dates. It's not available. I won't get a refund. And it's just extra time around this time of year where I'll just grab at shifts. If there's a shift that comes along, I'll go, yeah, I'll do that one, that kind of thing. I don't really want to bugger about too much because I take an extra day off. Okay, it's a quiet time, but then I might have 4 or 5 days off, whereas I've only had 2 or 3 days off. Do you see what I mean? Because I'll be away when there is a shift for me. So, and I've got a holiday coming up in March. But he's moved house, and when he was moving in, a 4x4 stopped out the front of his house and started taking photos of his car and the house. So now he's concerned somebody's looking to steal it. So he texted me this morning and he was like, is there any chance you can come up earlier, because this has just happened, somebody's turned up in a 4x4 taking photos, and if I keep it here, people will see it. If they steal it, it's gone, or I can sell it to get rid of it, because he hasn't had his garage built yet. And there's nothing I can do, so now he's going to have to try and store it somewhere else. Hopefully he won't sell it and it won't get stolen. But I've got that coming up. Of course, the movie failed has just pissed me off. And so I've obviously now had to bite the bullet and order a GoPro. I know he's got a GoPro as well, so we should have backup. I think he's got a Hero 5 as well. So we should have backup if anything goes wrong. But it's just annoying. And of course, because of that, my train of thought, when I got in this car, I had my first coffee, not my second one. I was, yes, I've just done this, I've just researched that, yes, I know what I'm going to say, I started the car up, got the sound, got all this kind of stuff. And then I got in, downloaded it, ready to edit it, and there's no image. And the SJ cam was there. I hadn't put it where it is now, which would have saved me. I'd have been able to use the original audio and still been looking at the camera, even if it was slightly off like it is now. But it was there. Because I was trying to be clever, do all of that kind of stuff. And yeah, it doesn't work. Because all you've got is a side of my mug. So yeah, I was a bit angry about that, and I lost my kind of momentum, my feeling, my emotion about it, which is kind of a good thing because it saves it for when I'm doing an X-type kind of chat-up review, working on this for the actual card channel that I'm developing. I can go back through it with energy and enthusiasm and know the equipment I've got actually works. But it's just so annoying. But anyway, like I said, this really isn't a Mondeo. Okay? So, don't be clever. Don't say, it's a Mondeo. 19% will cross over. And that's mainly the electrics, the rear suspension, the engine block, and a couple of switches. And that's it. You know? The platform, this is the funny thing. Yes, it's built on the same platform, Bill, but you can't take this apart and put a Mondeo on it. So it's a heavily modified platform. But anyway, I was actually planning on the original version of this. I did turn it into a far, I think, better rant, but like I said, I was more infused then. I even got a couple of side punches into Brexit as well. the debacle that is. But as you know, I didn't vote either way. I really just don't care. But anyway, thanks for watching. Thanks for sticking with this. This has dragged on way longer than I wanted it to. This is just something I thought I'd do. I'm probably going to do a lot more from inside this now that I've got it as storage, because it's just better than sitting in my living room. I can think of things to say about this. I can have other rants, you know. I can do some rants. But I think I'm going to use this as kind of a studio whilst it's sitting here, because I can't really use the cab of a truck. But anyway, like I said, thanks for watching. Like, subscribe, share about, do whatever it is you usually do. I'll see you in the next one, whenever that'll be. Take care. See you later.